That's where everybody gets the summary. So we have Yakut Shimoni, right? The pasuk says Aser te'aser et kol tevat zarecha yotzei hasadeh shana shana. Right? We said that you're supposed to tif, right? All the tivua, give maaser, right? Tzedakah from all the tivua that comes from your field, shana shana, which means year over year. It's not a one-time deal. Right? The Midrash continues and says, if you zoche, if you do it properly, sof shatem yotzim lizra sadeh. You will end up planting in tranquility. The machines in your plant will work fine. Nothing will go wrong. You know, you'll be tranquilo, as they say in Spanish. Okay, v'im lav, and if not, sof hayotze hasadeh mitgare bachem. At the end, the same sadeh, the same field is going to come and antagonize you and come after you. Okay, so either work could be a beracha for you, or God forbid, work could be a disaster for you. And the Midrash continues and says, "Ve'ezeh." What does that mean? What's sadeh that's going to come after you? He says, "Esav." Esav is going to come after you, and he ends by saying a pasuk. He connects it with the word sadeh. Ish yodeh said ish sadeh. Right, the Esav himself is the ish sadeh, and he's the one that's going to come after you if you don't do right by the sadeh and give you maaser. So if you do right by your own field, you'll be good. If you don't give him maaseh by the field, then Esav is going to come after you. How? Because we have a kesher, we have a connection between Esav is called Ish Sadeh, he's the man of the field, and the Sadeh that he's supposed to be giving from your maaseh from. So the first question that we asked is why Dafka, why specifically in this Averah is Esav going to come after us more than any other Averah? If we oved on this of not giving Maaseh properly, why is he going to come after us for this more than us not keeping Shabbat? Why Dafka Maaseh? We know that Esav used to lie to his father regarding Maaseh. Right? You would come to him and say, how do you give Maaseh from straw? How do you give Maaseh from melach, from salt? Right? And that's how his father would love him, because he said, well, he's doing so much and he's up to salt and straw, which is like the last thing on the list. And he's doing it. Right? And so we know that that's the connection between Esav and Maaseh already. We know that what he would do. But the question is, why did he go after his father specifically on on this mitzvah? Why doesn't he ask questions to his father about Shabbat? Why specifically about Maaseh? And we say what? That we know that the biggest gift that Hashem gave to Abraham Avinu was the land of Israel to his children. Right? He knows that, right? Shivtiach HaKadosh Baruch Hu leAbraham hayta latet lebanav uzaro Eretz Yisrael. And how do we know? Because when Hashem tells Abraham, you're getting the land of Israel for your offspring, what does he do? Vayiben sham mizbeach laHashem. Al besurot Eretz Yisrael. So it says, because the Rashi says, when it says that he built a mizbeach for Hashem, Rashi says, why did he build the mizbeach? Al besurat Eretz Yisrael, on the good news of hearing about Eretz Yisrael. All right, v'hineh az be'oto hazman. We know during that time who owned Eretz Canaan, Canaani. That's why it's called Eretz Canaan, right? And that Keni as Baaretz, and we know that Hakadosh Baruch Hu promised to kick them out, right? And that's what Rashi says on that. It says Atir ani lahazira, that in the future Hashem tells Abraham, in the future I'm going to give it back to you. Don't worry about it. The Canaani are just keeping your seat warm, but eventually they're going to get kicked out and you're going to come in, right? So. But if you look at it, it seems like Bnei Yisrael steals the land from the Canaanim because they are settled in it, and then all of a sudden we just come in, we take it like we did to the Indians, right? It's really right. And so what does it say in the pasuk? Right, the first pasuk in the first parasha, the Torah, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim et haaretz. Right? That Rashi says what? That they're going to come, and if the Goyim come and say, oh, Bnei Yisrael stole the land, this is coming to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu owns everything. He created everything. So there's not going to be any type of way that someone can come and say something against Hashem. Right? He created it, he gets to give it to whoever he wants. Therefore, in order to show that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the owner of the land, he commands you for the mitzvah of Maaser only after we go inside of Eretz Yisrael. You don't see the mitzvah of Maaser before. You see Yaakov saying that he's going to give Maaser, but that was not a commandment. That was on him. He did it on his own. So we see that we only got the commandment of Maaser only after we go inside of Israel as a siman, what? To show that that's like the taxes to the king. You're paying your taxes to the king. The Maaser is for the people, is for Hashem. You want to live in this land. The halakha of Maaser is only for people who are living in Israel. You don't give maaser if you have a field and deal. Only if you're in Israel. So what do you see? Nimsa shemi sherotzeh lezakot b'matanat haaretz. Whoever wants to be zocheh, to have this present, this gift of the land, needs to have two things. One, the person would have to acknowledge that God is the master of the world, and he has the right to give the land to whoever he wants to. And the second thing, he has to take upon himself, making sure I'm going to give maaser of all my money. That when I live in Israel, I'm going to give myself all the fruits of all the fields that I have. Why? Because that is the taxes to the king. And Esau, we know, wanted this. He wanted Israel. So therefore, and he wanted his father to give it to him because it was still in Yitzhak's ability, his hands, to give it to the son to give it to. So therefore, he was davka lying to his father specifically about maaser, because I'm showing you, I'm giving you the maaser.
Just for this.
I want this, and I want you to give it to me. So I'm already giving. I'm giving the maaser, right? That's exactly why Esau picked maaser over any other mitzvah. Like he didn't pick Shabbat, or he didn't pick anything else. Specifically maaser. And when we said that when Yitzhak blessed Yaakov, right, he gave him materat haaretz. He gave it to him, right? Like the Ramban said that Esau took all his wives, all his everything, and he left. Mm-hmm. Right after he gave him the thing, he left. He went to settle somewhere else. Right? V'zeu she'amar lo v'yiten lecha. And Yitzhak tells Yaakov, v'yiten lecha ha'elohim ital ha'shamayim u'mishmanei ha'aretz. That Hashem himself is going to give you from the shamayim and also from the fat of the land. Right? Which means what? And this is, by the way, you ask anybody who lives in Israel to tell you this. It's a miracle. I used to, when I lived here, okay, I would work 6 days a week. Okay? I would be up in the morning, come late. When I'm home, I'm working. I'd be working like a beast. Now I live in Israel. Okay, I don't go to the plant as much. I'm working from there, but I'm not working the same amount of. It's not a 1-to-1, without a doubt. How could it be? It's not possible. The answer is because when you live in Israel, there's miracles that just happen. Israel is the only land to pull itself out of third world status. How's that for a fun fact? Only
it's the most
one.
Technologically advanced. It's the most
75 years, 80 years now. I don't know, 70, whatever. I should know that, but whatever. It's up there. It's not even 100 years old. It's not even. It's like 80, I think, something like that.
Yeah, 1948. Right?
1948. So that's 1948, 58, 68, 78, 88, 98, 108, 80. So it's 75, right? So 78 is like 75, 78 now. All right, something like that. I hope people don't listen to this. So what? So anyway, so you see from this that the sheva that comes from the land is specifically from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And therefore, mishum hachi, you are hayav to give maaser. And if you don't give the maaser, right, you will not have the sheva that will come from the land. You will not have the sheva that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you will be hayav in maaserot, right? The hayuv of maaserot, because why? Because the hayuv of maaser is only for inside of Israel. And now Esav comes. What does Yitzhak tell Esav? He tells him, Mishmanei haaretz yeh moshavecha. Use the word moshavecha, right? With Yaakov, he just says, he says mital hashamayim or mishmanei haaretz. But with Esav, he uses the word moshavecha, which means dwelling. Sheyeh moshav tov. He'll have a good place. V'lo yeh hashuman haperot kimo be'eretz Yisrael. But he won't have, the fruits aren't going to be as good, as juicy, as rich as they are inside of Israel. You know, in the Gemara in I think it's in Berachot, they talk about the fruits of Gan Esod. The fruits of Gan Esod. It's by the Kinneret. But the Gemara goes into detail of how the juice from the fruits would drip down the rabbis' beards, and they would have to. Resh Lakish would have to. Send people to bring the students back because all they would be doing is eating the fruits all day, and they would just be like, I don't know, it's crazy. Just the way the Gemara describes it. Rabbi Yochanan would have X amount. It's just crazy. It's just, what's so special about these fruits that the Tanaim, the Amoraim was so they're willing to, So, but you should know that after the Chorban HaBayit, everything got diluted.
Right. It's not as big. It's
not as juicy. It's not as delicious as they once were. Because the Kedusha. And but the Zera Shimshon writes about Shabbat that Kedusha comes back. Why is it that the taste of food is so much better on Shabbat? You ever realize that? You have rice and peas, right, during the week. It's not going to taste the same right, on a Tuesday night. It's true. Why? Because it's Kedusha and the food you eat on Shabbat. Where's that Kedusha come from? right, from upstairs. It's unbelievable. So, what? And by the way, what does the Zera Shimshon say? What do we say? It says Italia, Shel Yavan. Right? Italia was a large city in Rome. That's what Yitzhak really gave him. But what does he tell him? He says Moshavecha. Moshavecha means we're dwelling. It's a short-term lease. You're going to be there for a certain amount of time, but after that, you're going to be done. Yichle ve'yoved. You're going to lose everything. So you're not going to own it forever. It's going to be just a short period of time, and after that, you're done. Right? Like the Ramban writes in, he writes that over there. So now, you see that giving Masrot gives you the okay to live in Israel. That's why Esav wanted to do it. So if Yaakov and his children, which is us, give Masrot, then we're good. If we don't give Masrot, it's Ki'ilu, we're saying that the land is not owned by God, right? Enam modim sha'aretz hi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and matenat ha'aretz goes back, and we're going to be called Gazlani because we're still going to be living there, but we're not giving the maaser. Why are we giving the maaser? By not giving the maaser, we're acting like we don't own it, like God doesn't own it. And why? Because he does. Because otherwise, the Canaanim would be in there.
Right.
The only reason why we're allowed to be in there because God said from the beginning, I own it. I'm letting you live here for a certain amount of time, and then I'm taking you out. I'm going to put Bnei Israel inside. So if you're not going to give the maaser, you're not acknowledging that that is true. And if you don't acknowledge that that's true, then you're stealers. And Esav's going to come. We said Esav was the one. He's a Gazlan also. We said now, right? We finished by saying that what did Esav lose the berachot for? Because the pasuk says in Mishleh that an honest person has berachot, but the guy who steals doesn't have berachot. Ish emunot rav berachot, right? And ve'avla lo matzlahat, and a thief is not successful, and therefore that's why he lost the berachot. And Israel, when we don't give the maaser, we're also going to be called the Gazlan. And because we're called the Gazlan, Esav now gets to come and starts to mess with us and cause us problems because he lost it because he was a Gazlan, like we said about his father, right? He said, if I don't find from a normal thing to give my father, I'll just steal it. If I don't find an animal in the wilderness, then I'll just steal it. So that's the reason why he lost the berachot.
The land will be taken from them.
So therefore, the land will be taken from us because we're also going to be called a Gazlan. And we finished by saying the pasuk that Yitzhak tells Esav that when Yaakov doesn't do good, you have the right to overpower him. Remember, it said, "V'haya kasher tarid ufarakta ulo me'al savarecha." Right? You're allowed to now come and get aggravated and now take upon him. So you see how important giving maaser is. Now today we don't have the maaser is only in Israel. But and also I think that you give it to the Kohanim. There's different halachot now, but the concept of maaser we have today, right? We learned there's a pasuk in Malachi that says Hakiroti ad belidai, that I'm going to give you so much beracha until you say enough. It's too much, right? Which means it's the one thing you're allowed to test God in. It's the one thing you're allowed to test God in. One of my best years I ever had was when I had money coming in for me for 3 months. And I wrote maaser checks for 12 months based on that. I don't know. I just, one of those things where you just do it, like it just happened. I didn't think it just, and I mailed them out. Okay? I mailed them out. That was really one of my best years.
You wrote the 12 before the 3?
I wrote the 3. No, the 3 I knew was coming. So I counted for that. So I wrote 12 based on the 3. And I said, okay, Hashem, I got the first 3. You have to get the others. And I literally put it in the mail and I sent it out. And every month those checks were covered. Problem was I didn't do it again the following year. I forgot, but the whole thing is give and you'll get. They asked, I think it was Rockefeller, why do you give so much charity? So he goes, because I shovel money to God and God shovels money right back to me. So she says, okay, that's great, but all you're doing is moving money from one thing to the other. So he smiled. He goes, yeah, but God has a much larger shovel than I do. So I my little whatever, and then the guy comes, you get all the stuff. You should. Maaser is the most beautiful mitzvah. It goes against all logic. How do you make money? By giving it away.
Sure.
How does that make any sense? But that's who we are. That's what it said before. Is Bal Yedom Haleluka. They're not going to understand what these things mean, but we know because we have special. We're special. We're the firstborn. So Hashem gave us something. We got the Torah. When we got the Torah, we changed. Everything in us changed. And when we were able to change, there's certain things that we get to know. That's why you're not allowed to learn Torah on Tisha B'Av. Why? Because it makes you happy. If I learn science, it doesn't make me happy. Math, geometry, doesn't make me happy. Why Torah? It makes me happy. It's hard also, Torah. Givana is hard. Because there's something that it just does to you. Whether you understand it or not, your inside does. Your neshama understands it. Right? And there's a chut to that. We should be able to be happy all the time. And we should be able to give ma'aser from now until Mashiach comes. And we should all have the beracha of ad belidai. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.